Keep your distance. Just keep your distance.
One. Dear visitors, some of you saw the exhibition, while others rushed in from outside, running up the stairs, catching their breath, just in time to hear me talk, intending to take a glance at the arts, get an impression of the arts, be impressed by the arts, before closing hours. What arts? Where? That art, there. That art, and that, and that, and that, and that, and that, and that. In the next room. Either way, I'm glad you're here. Art is nothing without you. Or maybe this is too personal. Okay. Let me rephrase. Here it comes. Art needs people watching. What is art? What art? As I said, art in the next room, the arts you heard if you were here. And if you consider this lecture to be part of the art or a piece of art in itself, or even consider all of this, what happens right now, as we speak, in this moment, on the spot, to be art. Art can be an ongoing conversation. Joseph Beuys believed that everybody is an artist. Part of his work were talks with students and a lot of other people. Everything is art. Is it? It could be. It's a matter of consensus. A decision, it's on us. Us, artists. You, the public. It's on them. The art critics, gallery owners, curators. It's on us. Politicians. In the old days, it was up to kings and popes to decide what art was. A tool of worship. But let me stay on the road of introduction back to you, the people, back to the moment you started to be here, too. All in all, it doesn't matter where you have rushed in, out and back, or not. It doesn't matter if your visit was carefully planned or not. You probably did because you made reservations. It doesn't matter whether you're easily triggered by nature or not. Whether you're an art critic or a dancer or not. A tourist or not. It doesn't matter to art or not. No matter how abstract, apologetic, bold, brave, clean, clear, democratic, driven, energetic, effortless, fine, free, generous, genius, hopeful, harvesting, ingenious, irritating, jarring, joyful, needable, kneedbaar, krachtig, luminous, lush, memorable, modest, neutral, new, open-minded, operative, perfect, precise, predictable, professional, and powerful. This art will be. If someone could come up with creative adjectives from QRS to UVW, X, Y, and Z, I'm all ears. But you can save it for later or write it down. While I continue, let us rewind, yes, rewind to what I just said about rewind art. Let us rewind to what I just said about art. About it being open-minded. A funny perspective to project on artwork. Imagine open-minded, meaning more than our general benign attitudes towards life. Open-minded, a fine quality, just think about it. Arts being open-minded at the core. The essence of arts, open-minded, open to be listened to be looked at, and even to be touched by somebody. Maybe I should be more precise. Art is open-minded to the open-minded. You. United by the same intention, position, decision to be here, yet different in many ways. Through character, background, education, formalities, geographicalities, humanitarities, ideologies, defined individually by past and present, connected possibly by the future. Free. Small things matter when you enter the sanctuary of art, a space charged with energy. Even the smallest things can change this space. The smallest thought by you, the smallest shadow of a thought in your mind moving, triggered by something from outside, say, you heard a sound in the street, you were still outside, a sound you heard before you entered the space. Sound triggers memories, emotions. You overheard a conversation. Two guys, one confesses missing his mother. I miss my mother. The other seemed in shock, saying, but you live with your mother. And your thoughts move between them. Missing someone doesn't depend on life or death, you are thinking. Talking about triggers, emotions influence how you receive this art, perceive this art. You'll feel relieved sitting down. Take your time to connect with this art or be present in the same space as this art. Sit and wait, reflect. Believe in this art. 4. So, to sum it up, some of you have seen the sculptures, some of you listened to hear. Some of you have touched the sculptures and made it move. Some of you still have all of this ahead of you, something to look forward to. I could keep summing up. I could fantasize about what you've done or are about to do. Indeed, I hear someone think, she could ask me. Another person thinking, oh my God, I don't want to speak out loud. Please let me stay invisible. I hate these interactive moments. She's the one giving this lecture. Let her body do all the talking. Yes, you're right, you are. I will speak. You can listen. Sit back, relax. You can think. Sit still, close your eyes and open, and nod your head a little. A sea of nodding heads, like short waves at the beach. You can ask me questions later. If you feel questions are truly about this experience and not about you wanting to ask questions for the sake of asking questions, so there at home you can feel good about yourself having asking these questions. Or ask questions when I'm done. Ask questions later. And yes, I prefer not asking you what and how or where you're from. And yes, I prefer not knowing. I wrote this lecture weeks ago, anticipating on the ideal state of not knowing anyone. not knowing, even the ones I seem to know. So what if you did the same, not knowing what you know, or think to know? Be open-minded. This art is open-minded towards you, for me. So let's speak about beginnings and endings. Is there a beginning to an artwork? Does it matter? Is there a code of proper behavior? Are you allowed to skip the beginning, to say, hey, the end of the beginning was more than enough for me to take it today. I'm ending my visit, I want my money back. Well, half of it anyway. Just imagine. There's a tradition in how to perceive just anything. Let me give you an example. You buy a book, you expect the storyline to start, develop, and end a certain way. You want the hero to have a name, and you want a chronological order. Unless the book is experimental, with flashbacks and jump forwards, the author appears in the story, crazy shit no one wants. There's a strong tradition of linear reading, partly because there's linear writing, things organized properly, like the letters in the alphabet. A lot about cyclic structures derived from archaic notions, ritualistic, esoteric traditions, sources close to nature. When it comes to art and literature, the position of an artwork or a book versus the audience or reader is still based on linearity, duality, polarity, on being two separate things where one has to deliver guidance to the other in clarity. There have been changes. Think of participatory art, where the audience is part of the work or creates art receiving instructions. Take a peek at the space over there, where open-minded artworks are waiting for your participation and personal touch. So revisiting some elements I mentioned before, bringing them to mind in order for you to get. I know it sounds paradoxical. What you bring with you is not the same as what you leave behind. The impact of information, even involuntarily, can be bigger than one cares to admit. Remember that time you walked into a museum, let's say Museum Voorlinden. We've all been there, I guess. And if not, I should say, imagine walking into a museum. But now I've mentioned Museum Voorlinden. Some of you see Museum Voorlinden, you have a mental image, while others think, what on earth is this museum she's talking about? Wondering what it looks like. I regret mentioning Museum Voorlinden because of the diversion I created by throwing in a name. I can't take it back now, can I? No. I could change the anecdote a little. Last Sunday I was at Museum Voorlinden in a private museum in Wassenaar, a posh city for rich people close to The Hague. I could do that, but it's not true. I haven't been there in a while. I could present it as a story, a short story about art, because I have been there. I have personal experience, I know what I'm talking about. Okay, recently I was at Museum Voorlinden, surrounded by a park with streams and trees. You need to drive the car to get there. Make a journey. I was with a friend and I drove her, the driver and the driven. Anticipating on the works we knew, the oxidized steel labyrinth of Richard Serra, the Instagrammable swimming pool of anyone? Leander Ehrlich, I had to look this one up too. The garden designed by Herman de Vries transforms us into imaginary owners inspecting our grounds. This ability of making one feel special is a quality of many museums, transforming us, though temporarily, into being other, better, richer. We deserve it, right? Spending our precious leisure time on art. My friend refused to go in, however. She was captivated by the garden. She knew the art already, she said, and preferred nature all of a sudden. Which wasn't nature, totally cultivated. I was more than happy to leave her behind. I like being by myself in a museum, not obliged to tell the other what I think. So I went in aiming to start. The museum is a mapped environment, a guarded space, revealing and protecting the arts. Every element, doorway, cloakroom, white walls, etc., is part of a functional order directing our visit. I'm leaving out code-generated restrictions, pushing the already structured museum visit to a next level. For it to consist of wide spaces connected by narrow corridors, a bit unbalanced, a bit like the sailor, one might say. I found myself in the first museum room. After a while, I decided I was finished. I entered the narrow corridor. There they were, a couple coming my way, talking loudly about what they saw. They were finally finished, they kept saying. They were looking forward to having lunch. I started, they ended. I was in the right space, they were in the wrong. They shouldn't have been there, they were blocking my way, so I stopped them. I asked them to join me and revisit what they just saw without speaking. I asked them to be with me and the art. 6. Another anecdote I like to share is about starting the encounter with artwork on the wrong spot. It happened to me when I visited Documenta 14, Kassel 2017. I read about a video in my Documenta booklet at a location called Tofu Fabrik. Indeed, a former tofu factory. The artistic joke was that the artwork was about a cannibal, a true story. I entered the space. I looked at the film. I had, look at me, I know everything about film, thoughts. I saw film, projector, not video, as it said in the booklet. I saw 16mm film. I used to project films myself, blah, blah, blah. I'm sure you have experienced something similar. Not feeling comfortable, clinging on to a thing you know, obsess over it, to stabilize yourself, to restore how you felt before entering the space. Safe. I watched the film for a while. It started already. I listened to the cannibal, an old dude talking about a girl he killed and ate. Behind the wall, I heard voices. There was another room I didn't know. There was another film I didn't know of. So I decided to watch the other one. So, look, I said to myself, the second I stepped in. Another film projector. Probably 16mm. Yes, I was uncomfortable again. I had to reassure myself when I entered the other room. There were no people. I was sure I did not hear filmed voices, or did I? It was confusing. And there he was again, the old dude, the cannibal, as a boy, with his brother. 2 little boys, cute as hell. It was confusing. The whole thing was fucked up and confusing. Of course it was confusing. It was meant to be. I expected clarity and spatial sin at least, or rather a clear start, but there wasn't any. Those who started in the other room, with a child's story, would feel entirely different about the old dude confessing his cannibalistic crimes. It wasn't purpose. There are 2 sides to every story. The work wasn't linear. It played with the cycle of life and death. 7, final chapter. I'm almost finished. You're nearly free to move on, or stay here and listen for a while. And then move. Feel the pull of the other room. Hear the instructions how to move, ignore them or follow, it's up to you. Where does directly to the center of gravity start, you wonder? Since I brought it up at the beginning of this talk, one could say that here is the audible start of the entire installation, but its range reaches halfway over there in that space and then dissolves. Depends on people being present, filling space with voices, clouds of words drifting. Here is a play on two words that sound the same, but mean something different. Connection of space, here. An imperative, here, functions as a friendly request and activation of the object, shapes, words, lines, shelves, words, metal, ceramics, hinges and stops that used to be chairs, wood, words, etc. Elements of the same stage, the floor, open-minded artworks, eager to meet each other, quietly in conversation with each other, even when we're not here. The voice carries you inside, it invites you to move, allows you to come forth, move closer. By the way, about this voice, it's a female voice, she sounds like Siri, a computer voice, a machine. When Siri was invented, it was a novelty. Today, we're used to voices on anything. Parking meters, coffee machines, light switches. We're never alone. We use ours in houses with smart electronics. Human voices commanding an object what to do. Turn on the light, or off. When I press the power button of that speaker over there, a female voice tells me the percentage of the battery. And since it stays plugged in, I know the answer, 100%. But still, I find it comforting, the reassuring voice of a machine. Here, however, was recorded in a sound studio with a real person. This voice, who sounds like Siri, but isn't. Her name is actually up there. She's younger than me. Her accent is better than mine. She grew up in Canada, I was born in the States, but I lived here forever, so I sound Dutch. It's almost as if she's an automated version, a mechanical upgrade, steady as a machine, slow, monotonous, no emotion, nothing to distract you. You can carry your own weight once inside. There are words and materials that seem to know each other for quite some time. Reaching the final part of this final chapter, I will focus on a few elements of Let Your Body Do All the Talking by Ruta Butkute. The title of the installation in the next room is Sculptural and Linguistic Elements Meticulously Made, Precisely Placed. Since you're facing me, the words I'm saying are at risk of becoming just a sound you heard before entering the other room. Sounds. Not exactly like that mother missing confession you heard in the street, remember, but still sounds disconnected from the actual visual experience. I could offer you a choice. Stand up to your chair, go face the other room, but I'd rather have you stay for a few moments more. Sounds like a very awesome. And you can travel even if you stay, bodies still. Mind always moving. Mind could move even more as soon as I give you words to move upon. Words, lines woven in air. A magic carpet landing on the floor, words on the threshold. Right after the doorway over there, on the left wall, from a linear point of view, I'd say one could start reading. There's a question without a mark, a repetition of the rhetorical question. It fades out, signs become sounds crawling inside the wall, somehow. What is your size? What is your size? It starts with 3 black shelves / sculptural objects resembling wood, made of black clay. The concept of 2 birds sounding the same, as in here, also happens there. Material meaning something different than it appears. Being something else. Being and meaning becoming the same. Being. Making an appearance, another way of seeing. The artist handles a precise method of disconnecting, displacing elements, reconnecting. Again, tempted to say, just take a walk, don't listen to me anymore, just go, leave me. Let me use my voice. What is your size? What is your size? 3 searched dots, or in Dutch, puntje, puntje, puntje. The black shelves, syntax reversed. Words and shapes synced, equalized. The rhetorical, the evidence. Are we supposed to answer these questions? What questions? The one asked in the space, for instance, what is your size? What size? The length of my body? Does it matter? Does it matter to you? Every question matters. Every human matters. Every object, every shine on a glaze, on a ceramic sculpture matters. A piece of metal. Every word, every size, every weight. Being human is heavy. At the same time, the opposite is true. Being human is light, yes. Open-minded. It's evident that you have to move around in art space, walk slowly. The setup of the space is ambiguous yet clear. It offers structure like a racetrack or a playground, a minimalist living space, maybe. It is unforced functionality that's offered to you. As I said before, be open-minded. Let this stage of sculpture and linguistic play be open-minded to you. Thanks for listening. I hope I've distracted you long enough so you forgot what you carried with you before you came here.